I'm well. Good to see you. Thanks for helping us out today.
Hey, it's
Appreciate
great.
you joining in to MiamiLead. I know we're live now, so we've got other people that are connecting with us, and I'll look for their comments over there. If you're joining us on one of our platforms, then just please. Hi.
Hi, that's my granddaughter saying hi.
I'm so happy to see your granddaughter. What is her name, Ro?
Thank Valencia.
Valencia. Hi,
Yeah.
Valencia. Welcome to iLead. We're doing a digital leadership opportunity and learning together. And the topic that we started the last time we were together was listening for improved understanding. But actually, there's a larger goal than simply improved understanding. In our MiamiLead togetherness, we would always underline this truth: everybody wins when a leader gets better. And so one of the skills that we are understanding leaders practice is listening well. And of course, Covey said that we should always seek to, one of the great habits of highly effective people is learning how to understand before seeking to be understood. And then what we said was one of the greatest tools that help us understand is listening. Listening's more than waiting our turn to talk. And we started looking at that the last time we were together. Today, we want to conclude that with some simple, what maybe you'd think would be common sense things, but since they don't seem to be commonly practiced, they deserve to be highlighted so that we can improve our skills together, and then everybody can win when a leader gets better. So, Rolly, thank you for joining us today. Excited to invite other people. My mother is back on today. Okay, she says, hello, my son. Boy, if there's somebody in my life who has listened to me through the years and that I have learned listening from, it would definitely be my mother. You can download your handout for today's session by looking at the address right there, Lead Session 2, and we're happy to invite you to do that. And also with another friend over a lunch commitment today, socially distanced as well, but he said that he used to attend our MiamiLead all the time, Steve Solomon, and had sent out our announcement throughout his business network, Christian Businessmen's grouping. And so if you're joining us from that group today, welcome you, and hope that the skills that we talk about just in the few moments we have together can find immediate application that will lift and improve the environments of your business, but also of your home life. So if others like Rolly have grandchildren and children and extended family relatives, then this also helps us learn how to listen better to our spouses, to our relatives, to our neighbors, and even to be more self-aware. I believe one of the indirect benefits of learning how to listen to others better is awareness of one's own self. So why don't we go ahead and invite you to start completing the information. If you want to take notes, you're welcome to. If you want to offer some commentary, you're welcome to. And especially today, listening has changed with the advent of COVID-19 and the protocols of the pandemic. As we seek to provide safe, physically safe settings, it can complicate our communication as well. So I want to invite you to weigh in on that as well. But the first listening skill, last time we talked about our human tendency to listen autobiographically. That means that we tend to filter everything through ourselves. But now we're looking at, okay, not just how we filter, but how can we specifically listen? And the first skill is this: we listen for content. Listen for content. Communicating, specifically at this level, is about understanding the facts. What are the facts as clearly as we can understand them? Concise, accurate messaging. Sometimes what's sent, we got to sort through it to get to what's meant. And so part of that is sender responsibility, but communicating content is about keeping your message as factual as possible. And a whole lot of business communication and interactions center around factual communication. What if your customer or your client isn't clear? Well, you help them out. You help them by asking questions to get to the facts of the situation. Usually in typical environment, to get to the facts meant eye contact, so that the sender knows you're paying attention to them. You're getting the facts straight. You mirror what they just said. That means you just repeat back to them what you understand them to be saying, so that the goal, remember the goal is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And in order to get the facts straight, here's some practical advice. Don't interrupt. Don't answer your phone. Don't have 2 or 3 conversations going on at once. Now, you may think that sounds like common sense, but I'm wondering how many of you have been involved in one conversation, either at business or in an office or with a clerk, only to have the phone ring and they totally ignore the conversation you're in to answer the phone. Or they say, "Oh, excuse me," and they put you on hold. And like, have you ever been at a restaurant and the person at the front is asking you about your party and wanting to get you settled in, and then the phone rings and they totally disregard you and talk to the person on the phone? And I got to tell you, what I'm thinking at that moment is, I should have called. I mean, right here from inline, I should have called. And they said, "Oh, hello." I said, "Yes, I'm the next person in line that you just ignored so that you could answer your phone. Could we please be seated?" And then, so all I'm talking about is how significant disciplining ourselves to appropriate listening is, so that we get the facts. We listen for the facts, give attention to eye contact, resist distractions, avoid interrupting, and then as naturally as you can, mirror back what you heard them say as precisely as possible. Why? So they can know they've been heard and they've been understood. Because to be understood means that you've been valued, and that's what matters in business, in church, in school, that those we serve feel understood. They feel valued. So, second listening skill, listen for context. Content is listening for facts. Context, listening for context, is listening for feelings. Listen for context. This means we're listening now. This is a little more sophisticated because here you're listening for a larger storyline. Human beings are not simply about the facts. You probably were already thinking this when we were talking earlier. We're also about our feelings. And we immediately tend to move into how they make sense to us in a storyline we tell ourselves. This is what Brene Brown and James Grenny have been bringing into the communication circle. We all have feelings, and we hear through what we see and what we feel. So we hear them in the tone of voice, in the gesture, in the nonverbal. If I were to ask you what percentage of communication is nonverbal in nature, what would your guess be? 98%. 98%, or 93, excuse me. I can't even see my own writing here. 93%, according to UCLA professor, Dr. Albert Morabian, 93% of communication is nonverbal in nature. 38% of it is vocal. That means inflection, tone of voice, volume. And then 55% is visual. Now think about this: facial expressions, gestures, posture. And do masks complicate that? I've told my congregation, I love seeing your smile through your eyes because, we're all masked. I can see your eyes smiling, but it's hard to understand. And then 7% is verbal. So you overlay those findings on our textual and our digital age, and you see, oh my goodness, how it's not hard to be misunderstood, misrepresented, misconstrued, because we are missing our connections. And so part of communication during a season like this is giving lots of permission and room for clarification. And then Morabian's context says the human mind is always listening to determine meaning. Reminded me of something a mentor of mine said some years ago: words don't have meaning, people do. And so we have to process through communication by asking appropriate questions until we hear the content, the facts, and the context, the meaning, as closely as we can. Now, we don't have time today in our limited time here to go into what Erin Meyer talks about in her book, The Culture Map. But there are three contexts that business listening needs to happen in typically. There's emotional, there is cultural, and there is generational. And each of those are opportunities for a good listener to hear, what are they saying in their feelings? What are they saying because of their cultural background, that words don't have meaning, people do? And then generationally, you know, right now in the workplace, there are boomers, busters, millennials, Gen Z. Some argue about that in terms of millennia, and Gen Y, and then Gen Z. So learning how to listen to the different generational communicators is a challenge, but one that can be very rewarding, but that demands that leaders learn how to grow in communication. And then finally, listen for contribution. Listen for contribution. We listen for facts, we listen for meaning, and then that larger story that involves emotion, culture, generation, but then we listen for contribution. Good leaders. What we say at the outset of each time we gather is everybody wins when a leader gets better. Well, as we improve our leadership skills, we promote wins. We're looking for a win-win. First win is for a shared win with the person you're working with, the employee, the client, the customer. But then if as a leader, you typically have many that are looking to you. And so you're aiming for a team win that can be reproduced, multiplied, and shared. So, in light of our time today, I really want to open the conversation up and see how you think these skills, or what you would like to add to the conversation in light of how difficult masking and protocol can make it. You have some questions or some insights you'd like to share? Anybody? Vivian, I guess you thought I sounded like my brother. You had to look twice to make sure it wasn't David. Actually, you know, that's a good listening skill. Looking twice, listening more closely. Anybody else? How do you think these skills can help us during COVID times? I'm going to go ahead and speak into the void just for a moment, because in my experience, it's proven harder to communicate well. And so if you want to listen skillfully, sometimes it takes great patience just not to speak. Don't interrupt, but look for ways to clarify meaning. Is this what you mean? It's kind of like when, you know, another one, this is a very fresh one for me. Well, actually, speaking into the awkward, that's what I've done as a pastor, visiting with others with their masks on, that we just acknowledge, you know, this just feels weird. This just feels awkward. I love being able to see your eyes, and I know you're smiling under there. Or to share, find words that are most appropriate emotionally about sorrow, about confusion, about fear, about that a leader's role is to help people find words that match their meaning. And that's another way that we listen well. And what else? So stepping into the awkward and calling out the elephant in the room. The other one, in Miami, this is so hard, but we love to touch. We love to embrace, to throw an air kiss. And so if you want to offer your knuckles, for a fist bump, or as you feel appropriate, making greater contact while still trying to maintain the sanitizing of your hands and the covering of your mouth, that's for your protection as well as those that you're serving. But safety first is also a way to say, I hear you, I care about you, I'm showing respect for somebody else, even as we verbalize how awkward and strange it all feels, that we're in this together, and we're going to give lots of permission to be able to find our way. So may I thank you for being part of this today. I will look forward to our next time together, where I think we're going to engage in difficult conversations. Speaking of listening first, but then how do we step into some of those more challenging conversations that can take place? So I hope I'll see you again at our next iLead, 4:00 Thursday afternoon for the live stream of it. And then you'll have opportunity to download it on demand as you wish from your platform. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.